We're recording.
Yeah, we're recording.
Hello everybody, hello Maggie.
Hi.
Lovely to be here again. And today we're going to do our best to make our video a bit shorter because we do like a bit of a chit chat. And anyway, but today we're going to talk about a poem that Maggie loved. Is that fair to say?
I think loved is maybe on the
Too
strong
strong?
side.
Is
But
it?
when I first read it, I really liked it. Yeah.
Oh, right. And I didn't like it at all, and so we wanted to look at that poem today together. And the poem was in the New Yorker, and it's called Girlfriends by Kim Adonizio. Did I say that right?
Well, I would say
Adonizio. Yeah. So, do you want to read the poem? Shall we read the poem? We should.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Should we?
Yeah, I mean, we'll put the text up onto the Substack or whatever.
I wondered if we should read it because I can't read it because I find it so.
Yeah.
I trip over every line of it.
Aha.
Do you want to?
Okay, I'm going to have a go at reading it then. I'm going to have a go. Girlfriends by Kim Adonizio. Now we're older, we know who's gotten sober, or been bitten by God, or chewed and discarded under a dirty bus shelter, and who's gone under the scalpel or chemo and sunk into their bones, or the waves, who became what they dreamed of becoming finally, then self-destructed, or didn't, whose children turned violently schizophrenic, or casually moved away too far, or never left home, or were never born, who wrote long, passionate letters and then emails to keep in touch. A few are still near. We remember so much about the times we were together, peeing in a field of wildflowers, or floating naked in a swimming pool, or downriver under the gauzy blue Pleiades, or phoning late at night to spill some urgent news, or blunder, or walking down a highway, thumbs out to cars of men who might kill us, or worse, but never did. Bumming smokes from men in bars with packs already in our purses, throwing up drinks in the bathroom, putting on fresh makeup and whirling back out into the night that was going to last forever, but never did. A con, like the love we wanted and never got except from each other, keeping our vows, keeping in touch, though we never, but should have, so much as kissed each other hard on the mouth.
Okay, it's improved by a live reading, I think. But I could, yeah. So, what would you like to say about it? I mean, what do we? The first thing I would say then, if I'll kick off saying my thing. I find the lines are too short, and I hate the line breaks.
Right.
And every line I read, although every line I read makes me stumble. You know, now we're older, we know who's gotten sober, or been bitten by God, or chewed and discarded under a dirty bus shelter. There's something wrong with that for me. There's something about the flow of that. Do you?
It's bumpy, but I did find when I was reading out loud as opposed to reading into myself, which is obviously how I first read it,
Yeah.
I did find that I was having to be careful in those first lines not to trip. I don't think that's a huge, that wasn't a huge problem for me in first reading because I was really curious, and one of the things I really like about this is the drive, the energy.
Yeah.
It pushes itself forward. But I mean, obviously it's quite, with Kim Adonizio, her most famous poem is, and now I'm going to get the title wrong. Can you remember?
I don't know what her most famous. Oh, the one about the girls in the bathroom.
Yeah, in the stall next to me.
Yeah. Or the girl crying in the stall next to me, or something like that,
that's
right?
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's well, I'm saying that's right. That's not exactly it, but I think we all know which poem we're talking about now, which I think is a very, very powerful poem. And this seemed to be coming in, if you like, not talking to an individual, but speaking to a group of friends from teen years, but it's coming in with that same drive, that same shifting about as it goes on, and I with the first half, I did identify with a lot, and I think that's it's interesting because so much of whether you really like a poem or not is based on the identifying with it, isn't it?
I guess. Yeah.
And I think that's one of the big divisions that comes between. There's obviously poetry which is really universal and meets in the middle, and then there's other poetry where I find it very either sex specific or culture specific, and it doesn't mean that the sex or the other cultures cannot access and cannot get enjoyment, but there is something when you feel as though someone has written a bit of your own life, your own way of coming. And I think there's place for all of that, and even I would say those who write what they would see as queer poetry, I think that's what they're doing as well, and it's harder for someone on the outside to totally identify with it. But so
I mean, I think you know what you were saying then about the energy of this really drives it forward. I feel held back in this poem. I feel like the energy is not enough because it's all of that kind of repetition of they dreamed of becoming, finally then self-destructed or didn't, whose children turned violently schizophrenic or casually moved away. I feel as though I'm moving and then I'm brought back. It's like they either did this or they didn't. They either and I just found that really fucked my brain up. Something off. I felt really just uncomfortable because of the rhythm. The rhythm didn't work for me at all.
Yeah.
The speed of it didn't work.
Speed. It's fast. It is fast.
No, I don't know that it's fast.
Oh right.
I don't know that it's fast. I feel like I do one step forward with this poem and 2 steps back.
Yeah, but I liked that because for me that was, and maybe it's because near the start, I mean, being bitten by God, who's gotten sober or been bitten by God, and or chewed and discarded under a dirty bus shelter. I didn't like that.
There's something
Identify with that.
Right
It's gone a bit too far. But anyway, who's gone under the scalpel or chemo and sunk into their bones or the waves? I really, really liked that bit.
Yeah.
Because that very much reflects, I mean, obviously I'm an older woman now, but even I would say 20 years ago, 25 years ago, that would have reflected where my life was at. And you start off, I haven't kept in touch with my old school friends, but every so often you might bump into someone. But it's not just school friends in a way, it's friends that you've met along the way when your children were the same age or whatever. And therefore whose children turned violent and schizophrenic or casually moved away too far or never left home or were never born, that really moved me.
Yeah.
But again, it's very close to quite a bit of my own experiences. And for me, again, as an older woman, looking back, there were all these hopes, there were all these things that you felt you were going to be in control of in your life, and you're not in control of. And I thought that I thought that all captured that for me. So, and then we get to who wrote long, passionate letters and then emails to keep in touch, and I again identified strongly with it, and I thought it was putting it very, because I think we have all these great intentions with friends and. As we move through life, I mean, I think part of what I like is the reflection of the buffeting that you get with life. You get buffeted this way, you get buffeted that way.
Maybe I don't like that because there's enough buffeting in life. Maybe I don't want to see that in the poem. I can't really quite. I mean, some of those lines you talk about are perfectly good lines. The who's gone under the scalpel or chemo and sunk into their bones or the waves, that's quite lovely. My biggest bugbear with this poem is that the lines themselves feel like they're cut in such bad places, and I kind of heard a little bit of what I was talking about when you read it, because there was that kind of hesitancy with the next line when you
There was one where I got
two
it really
bits,
wrong,
and I thought that's interesting because that's what I'm complaining about in this poem. The lines don't seem to break in the way where I want them to break, and so consequently I can't say that these are bad images within the poem, but it's, you know, and so it's a kind of a really kind of, I guess, minor technical point on my part, but it totally turned me off. I can't read it. I read it this morning because Maggie and I had read this poem a few weeks ago, and I had the same reaction, and Maggie also liked it, but I didn't like it, and I thought this morning when I read it before we talk about it, oh God, I'm probably going to love this now, but I just don't like it.
That's interesting. Yeah, we try not to rehearse in any way before we do this, so we're just both coming through it pretty fresh. And I think I get less keen on the poem. Oh, sorry, two things you were saying about when I read it. I noticed I was rephrasing it without meaning to at certain points as well.
Yeah.
But I think I sometimes do that with my own poems.
Yeah.
So
I think you compensated nicely for what were essentially clunky enjambments or you know, whatever. But in saying that, you know, in terms of the lines, you know, when I talk about poetry, and I heard this from Mark Tredinnick because we often mention Mark, but he said every line within the poem maybe not should be, but could be a poem itself. And if I look at all of these lines, they kind of are. You know, if you look at, I'm just trying to find one. A few are still near. We remember so much. That's a lovely line on its own.
Yeah.
You know, peeing in a field of wildflowers or floating. It's a nice line. At night to spill some urgent news or blunder. That is a lovely line on its own. But I don't like them all together, and that's all I can. I don't know what else. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say is you know, when you get towards the end, we were talking about walking down a highway, thumbs out to cars of men who might kill us or worse. Yeah, I stopped at that.
I was going to say I had a problem further down, and especially as we've been at near the start, we've got discarded under a dirty bus shelter. You know, who's been chewed and discarded under a dirty bus shelter. I mean, that kind of makes me go like that, but that's fine. It's
I know that's kind of it's a bit
extreme, but I get what she's getting at there. But then we go into this lovely bit in the middle, which is peeing in a field of wildflowers, or floating naked in a swimming pool, or downriver. I thought that was just a lovely memory of that being young. You know, of being young. But then there's something that I want to come back to. But then when we get to walking down a highway, thumbs out to cars of men who might kill us or worse, then I did have a problem. Because actually killing is pretty bad. And I felt a question over, what do you mean, what might kill us or worse? I mean, I imagine that she's referring to torture or rape, but I really don't think you can actually separate these out. So I would have personally questioned that.
Yeah.
But never did, except that they do for some people.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess in that case she's speaking specifically about her and her friends who basically kill us or worse, but never did.
Yeah, but it seems odd because she seems to be taking in all the possibilities up above that. It's not specifically about a specific group of friends. And, you know, banging smokes from men in bars with packs already in our purses. That made me smile. But I've never smoked in my life.
Yeah.
But I had a friend, a poet friend, who I'm not sure that she bummed smokes from men in bars, but it did make me think of being in bars with her, and that she probably did actually, and throwing up drinks in the bathroom. But we seem to have gone. The thing is, we seem to have gone right back into much younger experiences again, which is strange because I thought there was going to be more of a linear, but that's fine. That doesn't bother me.
And I guess the thing about this poem is it's in the New Yorker, which is this kind of, you know, heralded as this sort of, wow, to be published in the New Yorker, it must be amazing. I think that plays into my feelings around it as well, maybe a little bit. I don't think this is amazing, and I don't know why it's in the New Yorker, and that's just me.
Yeah. It's have you read Kim Adonisio's book on poetry, on writing poetry?
On writing, no.
I've forgotten its name. I meant to check it before I came on, but I meant to dig the book out. And I mean, I think it is good enough to be in the New Yorker. Not that I'm a New Yorker editor, but no, I don't have a huge problem with that. But one of the things that did stop me in my flow, and therefore, you want something to be perfect when you're reading it, and I know my own poems won't be either, but we want it to be. And when she has the naked in the middle of the poem, naked in the swimming pool or downriver, under the gauzy blue Pleiades, and I thought, why poo? That seems to break the tone and the mood.
It does to break the tone of the loveliness of the peeing in the field of wildflowers,
that's right.
and then the swimming pool.
But in her, if I remember correctly, in her book on writing, she does suggest that you throw in more sophisticated word or sophisticated term or reference sometimes into a poem, and I thought no, because all it's doing now is every time I look at the page, it's the Pleiades has the capital P as well. It's just jumping out at me, and I think whenever you've got that in a poem, when there's one thing that is leaping out at you,
it feels it's something. It does feel like another little speed bump.
Yes, yeah.
Or hurdle or whatever to continuing on. So I mean that's what we think about it.
But what about the end of it? Yeah, right.
No.
Like the love we wanted and never got, except from each other, keeping our vows, keeping in touch, though we never, but should have, so much as kissed each other hard on the mouth.
It doesn't do it. I still feel it's kind of clunky.
Yeah.
And I want it to be smoother.
I actually like the rhyme. There's the keep, because I like, sometimes I do that towards the end of a poem. I will slip in a slightly more rhythmic rhyme like that, as opposed to internal rhymes and then chimes and all the rest of it. Just because it gives the signal that you're getting to the end.
Right.
And I like how she does that, keeping our vows, keeping in touch, though we never but should have so much. I think I'll be. There are other rhymes in the poem. I can see commas and bars, but it's not. They, but so much as kissed each other hard on the mouth. I actually really liked that when I first read it, but now that I'm actually looking closer at the poem, I am not so sure. It's as if there's a lot of this poem which is trying, and I think that on first reading it had an appeal to me, so it was a sort of momentary appeal, but on deeper reading it seems just trying too hard to shock.
There's something about that too. I think
just
again, I'll come back to, for me it's the rhythm and the line breaks in those last few lines. I would get rid of that. Right, so it says from each other, keeping our vows, keeping in touch, though we never, but should have, so much as kissed each other hard in the mouth. If that was my poem, I would be, that's clunky, but I would be taking out the brackets. I would take out but should have, so it would read, keeping our vows, keeping in touch, though we never so much as kissed each other hard on the mouth.
Ah, yeah.
To me, that
changes the meaning slightly, so there is that. So I think
I just to the last line, I find it clunky and disconcerting, and I'm not disagreeing with that any of the lines are good, but that's my.
But it shows it's a good illustration of to what extent as to how many things a poem has to do to completely satisfy a reader or
Well, that's the thing, and this poem would have satisfied Kim. And I guess I always come back to that. Does it satisfy her? Probably. Yeah. And my own poems can only satisfy me, and we can't be, trying to satisfy the world. Yeah. So it's.
That's interesting, because my poems don't always satisfy me. I'm always concerned. Not always. Sorry, I'm very, very often concerned. I haven't quite got it right, and then it's often years and years later, like a poem like Wild Woman of a Certain Age, which is been around the houses many times. It's a very long-lasting poem that I wrote, and then I think, oh, I probably got it certainly good enough at the time.
Yeah.
But when I just write something, or even when I say just write, when I say just write, I mean I have written a draft, and then I have gone back to it time and time again over how many, you know, depending on what other things are happening with my time, and just feeling that it just needs to go in the drawer again, and I'll come back to it with fresh eyes.
Yeah.
So when I get to that point, I can still feel, I suppose it's terrible because good enough should never be good enough, but I do get a
I mean,
thing
it
of,
may be that
maybe that is, it is time to let you go.
yeah, there's that as well. Like, there
to
comes a point we have to draw a line in the sand, but it may be that for certain people with certain psychology or a certain disposition, it may never, a poem or a piece of writing may never ever, or a piece of art that one has created, I mean, it just may never be good enough.
Sometimes with me it's the
For
same.
yourself,
But sometimes it's many years later that I think, oh, I didn't even totally understand that's what I was doing. Of course, that's what I was doing, but it's maybe coming to it with a slight more relaxation as well. But that's Kim.
Great.
That's Kim. Poem. I hope she doesn't mind us talking about it. I do have
things to love about it.
One of our books here.
Yeah.
Now we're getting somewhere. Beautiful production. This book, and I very much enjoyed reading it. Beautifully laid out and spaced out poems in it. So, Kim and Denizio, I hope you don't mind that we had a chat about your poem girlfriends today. Yeah. And we are friends of our girlfriends. So
neither of us under a bus shelter. Or chewed up. So, okay, well, lovely. Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you all for joining us today. So bye for now.
Bye. See you.